Hi everybody. So here we are at the, let's see if I can get this, there we go, in Bull. So the meditation to meet the threshold keepers, these are almost at the end of the guides that we are meeting. These are the ones that hold the door. The threshold keepers stand at the crossroads or the doorways, pointing us in the direction that we need to go. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, focus on your breath, and just open your heart to meeting this penultimate group of psychopomps. So as these guides stand at, as I said, a doorway or a crossroads, like a liminal place in a liminal place, they introduce a more dynamic element of choice. We are not being led, we are not being gathered. There's no chase or leading that happens. They hold this place. They may point in the direction that we are meant to go, but it doesn't mean that we have to go in that direction. We can choose a different direction. Or we can choose potentially even no direction at all, although there may be repercussions to not heeding their input. So when we meet the threshold keepers, there's this invitation to assessment. Why are they pointing in one direction as opposed to another? Do we even want to cross the threshold? Are we ready to cross the threshold? Is there work that still needs to be done before we cross the threshold? Is there that which mustn't be carried across the threshold, can't be carried across the threshold, will jeopardize the crossing? So as gatekeepers and key holders, the threshold keepers can also sometimes bring in this element of judgment. Who is allowed to pass? Who must perhaps instead journey to a different location? But there's definitely a sense that whatever the door that the threshold keeper stands in front of, that is a door that one would want to go through. Whatever lies on the other side is a place that one would want to go. The crossroads might be a little bit different, although even with that, there may be a sense of wanting to be pulled in one direction as opposed to another. So, the threshold keepers. Just take a breath and be aware of the place that they hold, of doorways, porticos, of crossroads, diverging paths. So the first we meet is Baron Samedi. We have met him before, he and his wife, Mama Brigitte. So they are they take on many, many different roles. And one of them is this standing at the crossroads between the human world and the realm of the Lua, of the spirits. And through them you must pass. And with them you must journey. We will meet Baron Samedi again. And there is also Charun and Vanth. So Charun, who is often confused with Charon, the ferryman, though very clearly he is not. Charun and Vanth often appear together on either side of a doorway, or they are both present. And I see them very much as this interplay between unreason and reason, the chthonic and the more considered higher realms. Charun, as you can see, has this animal energy to him, and very often shown wielding this long-handled hammer that might be a tool for breaking down barriers, but also may be a tool for propelling somebody in a direction that they are resistant to go into. And that is often what happens with our the unconscious will send us exactly to the places that we need to go, whether we like it or not. But he has this companion in Vanth, who is depicted as a benevolent guide to his more strong-armed approach. And she also, there's an energy almost of Hekate, who we will meet, to her. She holds the keys, she holds the torch. She knows the questions to ask, the answers to seek, and the illumination to find, whereas he barrels through. Heimdall, who we saw before. Heimdall is the gatekeeper to Asgard. And though we tend to think of psychopomps as leading us to dark places, to the other world, there's this aspect of the light and, you know, the realm of the gods, which is Asgard. And that's still an otherworldly place. So there's an aspect of Heimdall as well that's said to have the keenest hearing and the most piercing sight. He could see everything, hear everything. Required very little sleep in order to be vigilant of his surroundings. And so in this, being this entrance, through him you get to the higher realms. But you have to be aware of everything that's going on. You can't hide from the things which need to be seen and heard. Hekate. Hekate is so well known and so well loved, and seems to be coming back in full force into the world. There's a lot of information out there on her. And she has many, many different aspects and realms, domains that she oversees. But as psychopomp, as threshold keeper, she stands at the crossroads, Although she can be, it's almost like all thresholds, all crossroads, all crossing of liminal places belong to her. And that is whether physical or metaphoric. She is the daughter of Perseus and Astaria, of destruction and stars, of the tower and the hope that comes afterwards. And so not just in these crossroads, physical or mental, within ourselves or within our lives. She is also said to be well versed in navigating the space between individuals or regimes. When something is breaking down, she is there to hold that space between, as she does with Zeus and Hades and Demeter, you know, when there was that family trouble. Modgud stands in reflection of Heimdall. If he is the bridge to the higher self, Asgard, the higher worlds, then she guards the bridge to the shadow self. And her name means, hold on, excuse me. Whew. Her name means furious battler. And she guards the entrance to the bridge. Jalarbru is the bridge to Hell, the land of the dead. Hell is overseen by Hela. And she, who we've met with, why am I blanking on all the people? Oh, anyways, I'm wanting to say Mordred and Hermod who goes to try to save his brother Balder. So that is to visit Hell, but having to go through Modgud to get there. She questions all who approach her, and only those who are meant to be in the land of the dead are allowed to cross. And so, though we need to travel to these realms to seek the treasure, to find the thing that was lost, we have to allow ourselves to be as that realm to get there. Now, Hermod is the only living being that was allowed to cross the bridge. And so there is this sense of, when I am in the dark, when I am in the place of low depression, I'm resonant with the place, the shadow self, that rather than try to distract from it, allow myself to enter into it so that I can seek. Because it's by entering into it that Modgud will allow us to pass. Papa Legba. So, with his cane and his dog and his somewhat ratty clothes, he is the Lua who oversees the crossroads and serves as the intermediary between the human realm and the spirit world. So he's able to cross freely, he's able to step around any obstacles. There's a similar energy to Ganesha here, with being able to facilitate finding the best path when it just seems so hard, when every single step forward feels thwarted or stuck. And again, not just in the pathways, but in interpersonal relationships. He's known as a masterful communicator. He speaks all the languages of the human race. And he's able to translate between people and between the human world and the spirit world. He can translate the prayers and petitions of the human world to the language that is understood in the spirit world. And so he's very often the one to approach whenever one is needing to have these challenging conversations. But there's also a sweetness to him as well. You know, one of the ways to petition him is to give candy. Sheela nagig. So she can sometimes be quite a provocative and confusing character. She's not really found in myth, but she is found in figures that are over doorways and gateways and windows, particularly churches and cathedrals in parts of Britain, France, and Spain, and Ireland as well, of course. So pictured as this old woman with wild hair and holding open her vulva. They were thought that maybe she was in that category of grotesque, which appears on cathedrals, but there's such a difference in that she doesn't seem to be guarding against. It's like she's inviting in this display of the primary gateway. And so she is this protectress. She is the mother who births us into the light. Wherever there is an ending, she promises that there is a new beginning. Saint Peter is one of the few psychopomps who is also a historical person. He was one of the 12 apostles of Jesus and is said to have died between 64 and 68 Common Era in the 1st century AD. Common Era. He was crucified by Nero and said to be the first pope. But it's written in the Gospel of Matthew that, I tell you, on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. And there is this sense that perhaps Peter was the rock upon which the church was built, but that he also, as St. Peter, stands at the gates of heaven, that he is the one who holds those keys. And the expansion upon that theme is that he holds the book upon which is written. There's always a book. There's always the names, right? The naughty and nice list. And so he has, I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. But if that is not your place, then you go to another. Those are all the main, perhaps, psychopomps. There's the ones that, to a large degree, are perhaps known. There's a few that are a little more obscure. I love this one, Degei, who is the supreme god in the mythology of Fiji. He is both the father of all creation and the gatekeeper of the other world. So he's said to wait for the newly dead souls in the guise of a serpent inside one of his 2 caves that are on the edge of a lake. And he's a judge, so judging the souls on the lives that they have led, he decides to either allow them to pass through, or they are capsized in a lake and they are not able to cross. But if you are worthy, he shows you the secret pathway around the lake that leads you to the other world, Boruto. Elegua, who is Yoruban, and Orisha, who rules the crossroads, will either hold open the door or keep it closed. Again, you have this sense with the key. There's that theme, Hekate and Vanth. There's also a similar energy to Papa Legba. All prayers must pass through him before reaching any other Orishas. So he's not just a guardian of crossroads, but he's a messenger between the realms as well. We have several Romans. It's fascinating to me that the Romans had so many door type gods when they were, constantly arriving at the doorstep of other nations. I love this Cardea. So she's not, this is so Roman, she's not just about the door. She's responsible for the hinge of the door. That momentum, the thing that allows the movement of opening and closing. It's said, and I don't have them pictured here, that there's a trio. Cardea was often accompanied by Forculus, the god of doors, and Limenthus, the lintel, the god of the threshold. So the bottom part, the lintel, and the door itself, and the hinge, those 3 all allow for the functioning of that which one crosses through. All aspects of transition. But the hinge, I love this. It's that that mechanism itself that allows. Is it sticky? Is it stuck? Does it need some WD-40? Ganesha. Yeah, he's not usually characterized as a psychopomp, but he's known as the remover of obstacles. And his story himself, he was guarding the doorway to his mother, who was taking a bath, when his father came home and did not recognize him and was annoyed that his rightful way was being barred to go see his wife, and so cut off his head. And the Parvati, so he was sort of created because of her loneliness, that her husband would go away for a long time, and so she had this child. Anyway, she was so annoyed that Shiva had to go off and, okay, I've got to do something about this, and that he chose to replace the child's head with that of an elephant, and that restored him to life. So there's all these energies of him, of again, protection, guardianship, and the removing of obstacles, the elephant with the trunk being able to have that strength to move anything out of the way. Janus, and though not directly associated with death, with that transition, with that psychopomp aspect, but Janus is the god of beginnings and endings, a different way than Sheela and Degei. All gates, all doors, all transitions, all times, ages moving from this to that. He is the two-faced god who can observe both what has been and what will come, and holds that place in the center. Holds that transitional space. He's another who tends to be approached at the beginning of any ritual or ceremony in order to respectfully step across the threshold into the realm of the gods. Menshen. Again, love this so much. So in Chinese culture, the threshold to the home held a significant and even mystical purpose. Part of, in Chinese culture, having the threshold a raised block was, to prevent anything that you didn't want coming into the house from being able to get over it, creating an obstacle. So this threshold was not just entrance, it was the divide between that which could be threatening or inhospitable and that inside which is safe, secure, warm, and embracing. And so the Menshen, which is often in pairs or severals, the guardians of the threshold, they protect that place. So you can see even being painted on a door, nothing of ill will can cross into the home. And you will find in some of the Eastern cultures, like the Korean has similar deities with similar names. So they may shift a little bit, but that energy of having the guardian at the door that only allows in that which is benevolent to the home is there. Portunus, so we end with a couple of Romans. Portunus, the god of keys and doorways. Interestingly, also livestock. I'm not sure how that fits in. This is where we get the word itself. Portal. The gateway. So you can see here he's got locks and keys and animals, and he stands in that place. The entrance from one realm to another. And the last. I love this image. So this is Terminus, although in this image, very female, would be like Termina. But Terminus is the god of boundaries and boundary markers, the stones that mark the place. The stones used to delineate this place from that place. And Terminus was celebrated. There's a whole festival, the Terminalia, each year, February the 23rd. So if this is the psychopomp who comes to you, you might want to put out a little offering on some stones that you see on February the 23rd. That was the time that boundary stones were sanctified. And you still see them in this land. There's not too far from me, there are 3 stones, the Hirian Menai, which is said to be, I mean, there's different thoughts about it, but each one marked the edge of a different field. And so this is the place where they come together. That would be a place to just honor. I respect the boundaries. I respect the delineations. So for Terminus, his worship was not just that the place of transition was significant. The landmarks that indicate those places of transition are also significant. So in that, I mean, you could even, to a degree, see the stones, the headstones of cemeteries. That's the marker that's showing the delineation. This is where this person is resting, of having been in this realm and being in another realm. So these are all our gods and goddesses of the liminal places. There are 16 of them. Just breathe a number to you. Who is it that comes to you? Those who are in class, you've already done this. You know who comes to you. And so I'm going to read through the numbers. One is Elegua, here. 2, Baron Samedi, here. 3, Charun and Vanth. 4, Degei. 5, Menshen, over here on the other side. 6, Saint Peter, down here. 7, Modgud, there she is with the rune on her hand. Awas, it is. What was that? So 8 is Cardea. There she is up there. 9, Terminus. Right here. 10, Hekate. Right here. 11, Janus, right there. 12 is Papa Legba, right there. 13, Ganesha, up at the top. 14, Sheela Gig. 15 is Heimdall. And 16 is Portunus at the bottom. So, take a breath. Feel the energy of the threshold keeper who came to you today, who's working with you over the next few weeks. who either points or holds over, leads, or protects, or invites you to look at what needs to be let go of. So, deep breath in. May you journey well with your threshold keeper.